Hello and welcome to I Don't Speak Canadian, your in-depth, comprehensive guide to everything you wanted to know about life in Canada, but were afraid to ask. With most of the world in turmoil, many people turn to Canada as a sanctuary of sanity. But what do people really know about the world's second largest country beyond the cliches? We propose to unearth the mysteries that Canada holds and present them to you, dear listener. So, what do Canadians feel is unique about their country? I've been out on the streets of Vancouver to find out. What would you give me as advice? What would be the biggest tip you could give a new immigrant to this country?
Be polite, be friendly, be nice to everyone.
Be very polite, like way over polite. If somebody runs into you, you have to say, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Say hi to everybody you pass on the street.
Okay, wonderful. Hi and bye.
Just embrace all of culture here, man.
Canadians actually aren't that nice, which is why we're not talking.
Oh, we're new to Canada. Do you guys have any advice for new Canadians?
Bring an umbrella because it's always raining. Try the poutine and just have fun.
Get flannel, natural flannel. That's a classic Canadian thing. And hockey, do you like hockey?
Not really. Should I get into hockey?
Definitely.
Oh, obviously hockey and skiing, and people say thank you.
Don't bring your customs here. You have to live like Canadian live. Integrate.
Integrate.
And learn the language.
Everyone said that the people were really nice.
Haven't seen too much of that yet.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Mexico City.
And what's your initial experience with Canadians so far?
They're really nice, really good people, really calm and relaxed. The place is like made by the people, and I feel like if people bring good energy, it's a good place to be around.
Any aspects that you could think of like a selling point? Like if you were telling somebody else why you should come here?
No, really. We want to keep this place not overly crowded, right? We want to keep it to ourselves, so don't come here. Don't come here.
You just want to keep it a little secret, right?
You know, yeah. I mean,
okay, but we're okay to stay.
Yes. Once you're here, you're good.
Inclusivity.
Wow.
I love it here.
It's really nice, actually. So I love it. I love Canada.
I love Canada. This is a very good country to live in, and I love it. I love this country very much.
Welcome to Canada.
Welcome to Canada.
And those were the lovely people, some of the lovely people here in Vancouver. Now, this program, what we intend to do here at I Don't Speak Canadian, is to document our travels, our struggles, victories, failures, all that stuff that go along with the journey, uprooting your family from wherever you live, and settling down here, specifically in Canada. Now, we hope to inform all of you who may be curious about whether or not you want to live a life in Canada, and of course, entertain along the way. And who are the we? You know me. My name's Kurt Long. My partner in this project and a fellow producer, Jatinder Sidhu. Jay, how are you?
Oh, I'm excellent.
You're the real journalist here. You got a background in journalism for years with BBC. You uprooted your family from England. You came here. Did any of the discussions we had with the Vancouverites downtown that we just listened to, did any of that make you feel better, worse, inform you more than you already knew?
I loved it, actually, because it really encapsulated in a snapshot some of the reasons why we wanted to move here. This is an open, welcoming, multicultural, cosmopolitan city, which isn't afraid of sort of flaunting those values. And yet, there are some people who are naturally conservatives. And you heard that from the woman from, I believe, from France.
Yeah, the French lady. Yeah, I was going to get into her a little later, but we might as well jump into it. She was the first person I've come in contact with in Canada who actually was very like upfront and vocal and more reminiscent of some of the less welcoming people of like the United States that I've dealt with or any other sort of races. Like, there's going to be racism everywhere, and not to say that she was, but she wasn't as quickly as accepting as most of the Canadians that I've met. She kind of stood out. But is there any value in what she said in your mind? Like the idea of like when you come to a new place, you have to adjust.
I mean, there's a couple of things to note about a person like that. First of all, in any Western liberal democracy, you're going to get a range of different views across the spectrum. Canada isn't some sort of left-wing paradise. So let's put that to bed, just in case anybody might be wanting to jump the border for those reasons. There's also political representation. There is something called the Conservative Party here. There was even a Trumpian party, the People's Party of Canada, which ran in the last election, led by a man who wanted to be the leader of the Conservative Party but narrowly lost, Maxime Bernier. And he speaks for a segment of the population, but it must be noted, he got trounced. He and his party didn't win a single seat across this country. That tells you that Canada is somewhat different to the United States.
Right. Hopefully with this show, we can go to other places in Alberta and Saskatchewan and across the country, and maybe smaller towns. We'll get a different feel for what people, how accepting they are. But definitely in this big city, in this part of Canada, there's a lot of national pride, and a lot of that pride is based on their acceptance of many different types of people.
So actually, Kurt, why did you come to Canada?
I came, and it was a multitude of reasons. You don't just uproot your family for one little thing. You know, a lot of people say, oh, did you move here because of Trump? Now, the prospect of having a leader, or, you know, that is a total moron and completely unfit for office like Trump, I don't want to be represented on a global scale by that man. But it wasn't my only reason. It was definitely part of many reasons. Part of it was the economy. Part of it was being an actor in LA who was seeing jobs start to go elsewhere. They were going to Vancouver. They were going to Atlanta. They were going to different places. And the possibility of being having two children who were dual citizens as well. My wife is Canadian, so I had that option. And having visited Vancouver many times and loving the place, knowing that if I could work here and my kids could be a little bit more worldly and have this accepting sort of thing, you know, LA's got a growing homeless population, crime is an issue there, the expense of colleges, the lack of, health care for all that stuff, where that is the opposite here in Vancouver. You have health care, you have inexpensive but good schools, you have more of a worldly accepting environment. That was the group of reasons why I moved. And how about yourself? Were you living in England? I mean, it seems like a wonderful place to live.
Well, maybe it was a while ago. I mean, actually, it is for many people still, regardless of your political persuasion. I think that it's always a combination of factors. For myself and my wife, Jazz, it was the fact that we were both a little bit frustrated and concerned about the future of our professions. I, as a journalist, a broadcast journalist at the BBC. Jazz, my wife, is a doctor working in the NHS, a family physician. And so we were looking also at the kids and thinking about what kind of place do we want to bring them up in. And living in, West London, leafy, green, lovely, but with incredible traffic and consistently pollution levels, which actually violated the European Union directives on particulates in the air. And you just think, okay, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, this has a cumulative impact. And we visited Canada many times. We have relatives here, and we always loved it. It's such a beautiful, inspiring place. It's so, majestic. Mountains on the one side and the sea on the other side. I mean, what's not to like?
Yeah.
So all those factors, and also the other thing is, politics did play a part, because for most of my life, I know this is a kind of, some people, it's not necessarily the way that everybody thinks, but for most of my life, I did feel that there was a kind of steady progress in terms of the things that I value, the acceptance of different kinds of people, more social justice, equality. And I really felt that in the political culture in the UK over the last 10 or 15 years, that was beginning to be eroded.
That leads me to, the unrest in the States, which I'm sure you've seen from the outside, but the racism is just never ending, and the inequality or the refusal of some people to acknowledge and therefore try to correct some of the racial problems in our country, in the United States. And that depressed me. That made me want to look for another place that might be on the way up rather than on the way down.
So this is a place on the way up, hopefully. Let's talk about if Canada is a good place. How do you get there?
That's a long journey. Basically, you need legal help. The immigration lawyers are just absolutely essential when you are moving to a new country, any new country, obviously. I was very happy to find an immigration consultant, Patrick Leong at 101 Migration, and I had a nice discussion with him about what it takes, what's the criteria, the possibility of moving to a new country, and all the changing laws and rules that are going on, and we could play that conversation right now. Where do most people come from when they want to move to Canada?
Mostly, for me, is from China.
Okay.
And then some from India.
Some India as well?
And now, last few years, have been getting a lot from USA. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that anything to do with Trump?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I can't comment on that.
You have a job to do, so I'm sure you don't want to get in trouble with anybody in the U.S. So what are some of the requirements for moving to Canada?
It depends on work program. Let's say skilled workers, mostly
skilled workers. Okay.
Education, age, and qualification.
And qualification. Okay, so run that down for me. What would the skill?
In Canada, there is a NOC code. They put it as a A, B, or O, meaning either your management level, skilled level, trade level, or employment. Yeah.
Okay.
Like even admin assistant.
Administrative assistant? Okay.
Yeah, that is considered a B category. Right. So you can come in.
So now my skill, I'm an actor and a talker.
Yeah,
and I can interview people.
Correct.
Can I use that as a skill?
Journalist, maybe, yes.
Journalism.
Yes.
Okay.
You can classify that as journalism.
We're going to say this whole podcast is a journalistic endeavor then.
Okay.
Just for my qualifications. I'm already in, but just in case.
You need to classify your skills into these three sectors, which I said.
Right.
So it really depends how you reflect your job to the classification. That's why they look at age. If you're too old, you don't contribute much, I guess.
If you're too old, you're just going to be a burden maybe.
Yeah.
You're just going to want benefits or healthcare or something like that.
So that's why there is a point system that is set in now for skilled migration. So anybody, let's say 29 years old, studied here, work here, and good English, their points is enough.
That's enough points.
Yes.
It's not ageism, but it's not great for older people.
Yeah, if you're old, the points is reduced.
Now, what about qualification?
If you have a master degree, you have like certain points for that, and then a bachelor degree, certain points for that.
Okay. Obviously, I'm assuming criminal record.
Of course.
So you can't have a criminal record.
This is one of the questions.
Yeah.
Inadmissible.
Even if you served your time?
And must see how long was it and things like that.
That's how they'll go into it. They'll say, okay, how long ago were you in jail?
Correct.
What was it for? All that kind of stuff.
Mostly, if you're in jail, pretty high.
No matter, like, if you're 30 and you got arrested for drinking at like 18.
Or drinking is fine. DUI.
That's fine. We're talking violent crimes or any sort of fraud or stuff like that.
DUI, you can ask for a pardon.
Okay.
But you must be like 5 years after.
See, that's kind of the things it's good to know. Because you look on the immigration website, and it just says, like, if you've been in jail, that can deter a lot of people from even applying, right? Because they're like, oh, shoot, I got that DUI one time, or if I, whatever it is. But you can, for certain crimes, you could probably, like, get it pardoned and come into the country. Is that correct?
Mostly DUI.
Mostly DUI.
Yeah.
But anything else, theft or...
And it's also have to see how long was it. Let's say I have one case, but he was only 18 years old, something like that. Very long time ago. did something. But he's like 50 years old now, so he has been like 30 years
of being clean
so
citizen.
Correct. So I just need to ask for a pardon, ask for something to waive that. Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's get into how would you even start? Some people have a little quicker route, like myself. My wife's Canadian, so I was just able to go on a spousal sponsorship. But if it was somebody who just living in the U.S., says, I want to move to Canada, is it that easy if they hit all the qualifications and everything else? Or is there any other hoops that you have to jump through?
For people from U.S., they are the same from any other country. They have to follow the same pathway.
Okay.
Yeah. The only benefit that they have is English.
Right.
Their English level is higher from what I have so far.
So where would you want to even start?
Normally, I will ask them for a resume. I will assess their situation, see what points area they're in, and then we go from there.
See if it's worth their time.
Correct. Right now, the current point was 472.
472. And what is that?
The selection point. Anybody above 472, you can gain access to come into Canada. Express entry.
Right.
And also depends on the quota. Let's say the certain month they wanted 3,000, and in the pool, you have people that is higher than you. Then once they hit 3,000 applicants, they stop.
Really? Okay. So that could take years.
No. Every month they pick. It's just a matter of how many people they allowed this month, and then depends on number of people that there is inside the pool. The one I'm referring to, express entry, is to be selected for permanent residence.
Right.
Based on what we talked about just now, education, age, and everything else.
Any examples of stuff that has changed over the years that is like, oh, you used to be able to come in for this, but now you can't, or now this is a new reason why you can?
For express entry, again, is the points. It went up from once upon a time when you hit 440.
Yeah.
You can gain the chance to get it. Now it went up to what we were talking about 472.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it went up a bit.
So 472 is
472 is
the
like
lowest level of points to get qualified to move here.
Yeah, it changes every month.
Is there anything that precipitates it changing? Any reason politically or anything that?
No. It depends on the pool of people.
Just the amount of people who apply.
It's the pool. Is I guess more highly qualified people with very good English. They must be studied here before, working here, and then younger maybe.
Okay.
So it's just selection of people.
All right. Now that we're on numbers, how many people move into the country in a year?
In 2019, last year is 341,000.
341,000 people last year. Is that a high watermark? Is that pretty high?
It went up, yeah.
Because you know the phrase, like, have you ever heard the phrase, like, if that guy gets elected, I'm moving to Canada. Like, people in the United States say that. Like, I remember Alec Baldwin said a while back, like, if George Bush got elected, he was going to move to Canada, and he didn't. But so you've seen an uptick. So I was one of those people.
Welcome more than 300
2 years
in
ago.
1 year.
Wow.
You can reach.
Canada broke another record by welcoming 341,000 immigrants in 2019. Okay, so this is a immigration website. It says here, welcoming 341,000. This is only the fifth time in its history that has welcomed more than 300,000 immigrants in 1 year. The other times were 1911, 1913, and 2018. So 2018, 2019 got higher.
Yeah.
And it just so happens Trump is in office. I don't know if that has anything to do with anything.
Yes and no. You've got to look at other immigration countries.
Okay. And then it has a list. Number one, over 85,000 came from India.
Yeah.
China is number two, but that goes down 30,000 people. Philippines, Nigeria. In fifth place, United States of America. 10,800 people moved.
10,000.
Everybody knows it's a big, wide open space. Canada's a huge country, and actually the population is much smaller than the U.S. Do you see any pushback from immigration and saying, hey, this is too much, or that's what the 3,000 a month thing is for?
No. I think they are going to increase the population.
Yeah.
For Canada, yeah. and also have to look at other countries. It's harder to get into Australia now.
Really?
Yeah, so it kind of changing. People are.
Is it because it's on fire? No, God bless. I feel horrible for everybody in Australia with all the fires. Maybe if we did something about global warming, maybe, we would help that. Now, what's the difference between getting permanent residency and like a work visa? Would they come to you for a work visa too?
Yes, depends on your criteria. I mean, the visa class that you have.
Okay.
Some
the
are
student
1 year.
visas.
Yeah, some are 1 year, some are 2 years, some are 3 years.
Okay.
It depends on what you apply.
And how does one keep track? Do they just, it's on the honor system? Like once your visa's up?
Yeah, if you overstay, it's harder for the next application. So it kind of, not helping yourself.
If I moved here from the U.S. on a work visa for 2 years, and then I was like, I like it here, I want to get another work visa, do I have to wait a certain time or do I have to reapply?
You have to reapply, if you qualify.
As huge as Canada is, and as many people are moving here, the immigration department is actually kind of small as far as like a government entity. There's not a lot of people
Correct.
working. Are they overwhelmed?
I guess so, yeah. That's what I was told, yes.
That's why like paperwork can sit for a while and take a long time?
Yes.
Then just tell me, how long should I expect to wait for my permanent residency if I apply?
It normally takes about a year.
A year?
When you put in, yeah.
Do I have to be here in Canada living already, or do I have to apply out there, apply, wait till it gets approved, and then come? How does that work?
Both ways works. If let's say you have a valid visa right now, let's say you're on a work permit.
Right.
And then you can put in an application for permanent residency. And
Gotcha.
then you will be under implied status until the day you hear something from immigration. Rejected or approved. Yeah.
So you're still operating on the work visa. That doesn't go away. You're still, that is valid.
Yeah. You're on an implied status.
So implied status.
Implied status.
And now what about for
outside?
If I'm outside?
Same thing. You just stay out until the day you hear from immigration.
All right. If we're educating people about moving to Canada, you got to get your points. And education, we talked about skill, age, qualification. Younger than 50.
Yeah.
Over 50, just stay where you are.
Just harder. We only talk about skilled migration. There is so many other programs.
Right. Okay.
We haven't talked about, yeah. It's a long thing, yeah.
Give me an example of a couple of those. I know spousal sponsorship if you're married.
They have provincial nominee programs.
What is that?
For BC is, if you have a job offer, you can go through the provincial nominee program. And entrepreneur, you come here and start a business or buy a business, straight, low skills level, things like that.
Okay. And then obviously student.
Yeah, because once you study 2 years or more in Canada, depends on your college. You can get 3 years of work permit. Certain college, like private college, they don't allow to have that 3 years work permit.
Oh, really?
So got to check what kind of college you're from.
Oh, okay.
And then you gain 3 years. Once you have 3 years work permit, you can find a job and then you start working.
That's great. Okay.
Gain your experience here.
You mentioned briefly, I don't know if there's anything there, but provincial. So moving to different parts of Canada are going to have different rules. Like if I move
different.
Really? Saskatchewan, Alberta, everywhere, everybody has a different rule.
They have their own point system, their own programs.
Okay. But now I have a PR card here in BC. I can go travel throughout anywhere in Canada.
Once you're a permanent residency, you can go anywhere.
But the qualifications for moving to Vancouver are going to be a lot different from moving to Toronto?
Yeah.
A lot different or just?
A lot different.
Just variation.
Toronto have their own programs as well.
Okay.
Yeah, it's totally different. BC has their own program, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. See, that's something I didn't know. So that'll be confusing. So if I want to move to Newfoundland, it's different than if I want to move to BC.
Totally different, yeah.
Good to know. See, I'm glad we brought that up. And you said the biggest reason most people move here, that's family, kids,
mostly family.
education.
For me, yeah.
We asked that, and I think we're good. I think we got everything we needed to know. For now, that's Patrick Leong. Call them up, 101migration.com, and Patrick and all his staff will help you out. Thank you so much, Patrick.
Thank you.
All right, and that's Patrick Leong of 101 Migration, one of the many immigration consultants and lawyers that you can contact if you feel like you want to get out of your situation and move to Canada. Jay, you had to get out of England. I'm sure you didn't talk to Patrick to get out of England. Who did you consult, and what was your biggest takeaway from our discussion?
I found him congenial and a likable character, actually. I thought he was particularly when you suggested that Trump was the reason why lots of people wanted to come over here. No, for us, it was relatively straightforward because my wife is a doctor and her services, her talents are hugely in demand all over the world. For us, we followed a particular program that they have across provinces. It's called the Provincial Nominee Program. It means that if you have that kind of skill set, you just apply and pretty much you're invited by the province. You are sent a letter of invitation. The really tricky bit was not that. It was actually the professional qualifications and the professional bodies. So Canada has a number of professions, whether it's doctors and teachers I know about, and I'm sure others as well, that operate a bit like a closed shop. They are very, very snooty about who they allow in. And so you have to jump through an incredible, inordinate, interminable a series of hoops in order to get in. But that was just bureaucratic and incredibly taxing, and expensive, but you just have to keep doing it, plugging away. And I mean, that kind of took 2 years. And it didn't end when we got here. It carried on.
Yeah.
Jazz wasn't able to start working until 3 months after we got here. The bureaucracy was quite something. But many countries have that. Maybe we were just slightly, blasé at the outset. Enough about us. Kurt, you've been talking to somebody far more interesting, far more entertaining than two pompous windbags that we are.
Right.
Than the two pompous windbags that we are. So who have you been talking to?
Andrea Jin, super hilarious, talented stand-up comic, and she's also an immigrant, like us. So definitely wanted to talk to her to get some laughs, but more importantly, get her story, especially since I'm in the entertainment business. I wanted to know how somebody could entertain here. And ironically, as you'll hear in the conversation, a lot of people in Vancouver want to move to the U.S. I'm doing things the opposite way. But you'll hear more about that in our conversation with Andrea Jin right now. This is Andrea Jin. She's one of the best comics around, not only in Vancouver, but all over the world. Soon to take over the United States. Andrea, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. You're originally from...
Shanghai.
Shanghai.
China. Yeah, I was born there and I grew up there until I was 10. Not that many memories, but it was nice. And then coming here, and that's it. Vancouver here the whole time.
That's
for
it.
Like
So
13, 14 years.
all your developmental years, basically.
I've been here.
Been here. Yeah. I did a little man on the street interview recently, and I talked to people about how they feel about immigrants. Do Canadians just have a better general sensibility about people?
Well, I think there's just less to do here. Like,
so when somebody stops you, you're like, yes, I'll talk to you.
Honestly.
Yeah?
Well, just because I feel like there's more going on in the States, and there's, more people. Like, here, it's like, oh, who can I talk to? There's, no one on the street. I mean, there are, but it's, it's hard. Yeah, it's not, I have Americans come here and tell, American comics come here and they're like, oh, no one's on the streets.
Yeah.
There's, no one on the streets. I'm like, yeah. And it's just because, there's less people, so you kind of get more excited about, talking to other people.
Yeah, you're like, oh, hey, I'll talk to you.
Yeah. And then, maybe I love Canada, but there is less to do. I feel like I see Canada as more of, a place for either family or retirement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I love it.
No, in a good way, because its way of living is way better. The quality of life is way better here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because there's a lot of cool activities. It's diverse. It's scenic. Everything. It's friendlier. Yeah, everything. But America's somewhere where you want to go if you're trying to do something impossible, almost. You know?
Really?
Not
Okay.
impossible, but just like chasing a dream.
Would you think most Canadians, like Brian Adams or somebody, like you go to U.S., make all your money, and then but you would retire here?
Yeah, I would definitely retire here. It's way better here.
Yeah. What about money, though? Obviously, for you, for me, like anybody working, like the dollar is a little bit better in the States, but the other difference is like you get taxed more here, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you feel like you get what your taxes are worth, though, out of it?
Well, I don't make enough money to give anyone taxes, so they give me money.
They give you money. Oh, tell me about that whole thing with Canada, how they take care of their own people.
That's really nice. I like it. And it has helped me a lot. I'm a beneficiary of the Canadian government. I'm very grateful.
Yeah.
I have nothing bad to say.
You're listening, Canada? You're listening, Justin Trudeau? She very much appreciates it. Well, that's very big part of, like, let's get back to the politeness. Being a comedian, it's got to be tough. Like, I feel like Canadians are very receptive to comedy. They obviously know comedy, so they can take sarcasm and they can take biting humor and stuff like that. But is there a difference, like, in the approach? Like, do you or other comedians that you know from Canada, do they take a different approach to comedy, you think, than Americans about politeness or decency?
Americans are less afraid to say what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like in Canada, people feel a bit tighter about that. Like, I think it is the inclusivity of it, where people want to be inclusive of everybody and people want to make everyone feel welcome and nice. But then they clench up too with like comedy, even where certain topics get brought up and people just tighten up no matter what you say about it. But Americans are more, you can tell that free speech is a big thing and they care less about it. Like, I mean, they care less about what they say and they like, they
don't fear repercussions socially or from fans or whatever. Canada, again, they have free speech here, but they're a little bit, like you said, a little bit more shy about it. Like maybe it's just the upbringing or just the, Canadian way that they want to be more respectful. Do you feel like that's...
Yeah, I think it's like wanting to be respectful. It's like the intentions are good, but then it's not super productive for comedy.
Yeah. Do you feel like
it's great for everything else?
Which is better, would you say, like right off the top? American comedy or Canadian comedy?
Oh, no, I think they're both good. Like, in their own way, because there's so many great Canadian comics in Canada that aren't getting what they deserve because they're in Canada.
But meanwhile, they're doing like stuff like the Montreal Comedy Festival has been huge for years. They do the Vancouver Festival now, the Northwest Fest. Do you think there's a push now to try to break that barrier?
There is a push, but like most of the major networks are in the States.
Yeah.
And the fact that we can't work them legally is a big barrier.
So tell me about that. The legally part, what do you have to do? I know
get a visa in order to
as free as, feels like, being here in Canada, it just feels like America light. Or
I know.
it feels like America
like
polite,
But we can't do anything.
But you can't do anything. So... I knew it took me a while to move up here. It took me about a year to get my permanent residency, but I also married in, so that was, lucky for me. But I plotted it all out. just in case we get a dictator in office in the States, I was like, I'll marry a Canadian. Just like,
yeah, that's good plan.
Always plan. So, which American are you going to marry to get? If you had to marry, like if you could just choose tomorrow, I'm going to marry this guy, he's going to give me American citizenship. What American celebrity would you do?
Okay, I think I would have to go Asian.
Asian? Okay.
Because I have to be loyal.
Right. Or would your parents be upset if you went otherwise?
I would pick Ali Wong.
Ali Wong.
She's already married.
She is married.
So...
Do you look, I mean, is that obvious? Is that the question you get all the time? Do you look up to Ali Wong?
Yeah, it used to annoy me, but now I'm like, yeah, I do, obviously.
Yeah, hello, of course.
Yeah, now I'm like proud to say it, because back then I never checked out her stuff, and then people would just ask me, and I would be like, I don't like, what?
Yeah.
But then I checked out her stuff and I was like, oh, she's very good. Okay,
Yeah.
now I'm a fan.
Oh, yeah, I do like her. I like Ali Wong. Well, okay, so you can marry Ali Wong if she gets divorced. I'm sure she would take you. You're a fine catch.
Yeah.
Right? That'd be a good, what a
And for
duo.
gay marriages, they're actually more lenient on the interview process.
Really? Yeah, oh, really?
Because then
Going
they know,
into the U.S.?
Yeah, they know about, like, discrimination and stuff, like, with parents not accepting of your life with your sexual orientation, so that in the interview, they're, like, more lenient.
They're like, okay, come on in. We get it.
They're just more like, oh, if your parents don't accept you, like, it's okay that you don't know their parents' name. It's okay you don't know your in-law. Name. You should know their names.
You should know
but
their name.
It's okay if you haven't had made, like,
I see.
much
So
contact
the sneaky,
with,
that part.
Yeah, because
they
ask
do the background check. Like, well, they don't know because we keep it in the closet because we don't want to upset them.
Yeah,
and then you
or
can
like
go.
we cut off contact with my side of the family because they're super not accepting or whatever.
Wow.
And so, like, at the interview, they're considerate of that, which is good. I think that's good that they
Yeah,
do.
it's great. It's very nice. They don't want you to start crying. Like, my mom left me because I'm gay. And then you're like, okay.
Yeah.
So a little secret for you. You just pretend to be.
Don't pretend to be gay.
No, don't. I could have sworn you just said that. Okay, well, let's wrap this up. Let's go rapid fire. What should I know as far as being a Canadian? What would make me Canadian as a person?
If you like hockey.
Do you like hockey?
That's a big one.
Yeah.
I don't, and I do feel like left out a lot. It's big here. Like,
Yeah.
you think it's like a stereotype or something. Everyone's like, oh, y'all play hockey, whatever. People care about hockey here.
Like, people you don't think would, like, skate or play hockey, like, they all have stories of Canadians who grew up here.
Yeah, and if they don't, then they enjoy watching it. And even if they don't enjoy watching hockey, they know about it way more than, like, me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know probably more about it than most people I know, ladies I know in the States who don't follow sports.
Oh, for sure, yeah, because I'm forced to.
Yeah, you see it all the time. So, like, anytime you walk into a bar, like, there's a hockey game on usually.
Yeah, and people...
Or curling.
Everyone has, like, a team.
Yeah.
You meet someone and they're like, oh, I'm watching the game at, like, whatever. Like, not all the time, but a lot of times I'll meet someone and they're like, I'm like, okay, who's your team? And they're like, Boston. Or, like, or Calgary or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
You're a Flames gal. I can tell that all the way.
I guess. I don't like hockey.
You're not a hockey person. But curling, what about that? That seems like such a prototypical, like, whereas hockey's, like, can be violent and brutal sometimes. But, like, you know, it's, like, that's what I think of when I think of Canada, though. Is curling. It's just like this weird, mellow, very polite, like, sport.
I don't understand that at all. Like, that's like hockey I can understand.
Yeah.
But with curling, it's like a tier 2 level of Canadian where in the Olympics, everyone's like watching curling. And I'm literally like, what is going on? Like, I'll watch people watch curling just to see what's happening.
Yeah! And you seem excited and you're like, I don't see anything that happens.
Yeah, I just don't, I don't know.
It's very bizarre.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Canadian, yeah.
Anything more you need to tell people before we go? Any more advice I have before I... No. Just keep talking to Canadians because they obviously will listen.
I know, yeah, they're lonely.
That's the main point. Canadians are lonely, and they want more of us to come here. So that's great. Great advice from Andrea Jin. You can see her on Instagram. And, of course, you can catch your podcast. You do a podcast weekly.
Yes. I Fucked Up with Andrea Jin.
You can
search that up on everything.
Every platform. You can get that. And what kind of stuff would we expect to hear when we listen to I Fucked Up? I love it. It's really funny. Just say it again. What are you going to do?
Just stupid. Like, just whatever's going on with me and, like, the things. Yeah, I have, like, comedians on. It's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is
it's
very
supposed to be funny. It's not supposed to be, like, anything serious. So it's, like, funny.
Thank you. How do you feel?
Thanks
you
for
feel
having
good?
me. Yeah,
Thank
I feel
you.
good.
Thank you so much, Andrea Jin. Such a wonderful person, an incredible comic. Jay, what are your takeaways? from your first episode of I Don't Speak Canadian?
Well, my takeaways are we've only just begun to scratch the surface. I mean, there's so much to learn about Canada. I mean, after all, the world's second largest country, a mere 37 million people, a tiny drop in the ocean in comparison to the US and many other countries, half the size of the UK. I mean, this place is so full of possibilities. The landscape, the cultures, the languages, the cuisines. There's so many places to go.
Is it overstating it that you and I are like the modern Lewis and Clark, pioneers journeying into this unknown land, this exotic country of Canada, and all the resources and wonderful riches that we're going to get bestowed upon us while we travel through this country? Is that too much?
Yes.
Yeah.
For many reasons. I mean, two middle-aged men who love their...
That's part of my American pomposity, is that I think I just discovered Canada.
Yeah.
No, I too think that we are just getting started, and am so super excited, for lack of a better word, to explore and like our conversations with the wonderful Vancouverites that we talked to only encourage me more to dig deeper into this country, because I think they're an open book, and I think they're ready to talk, and they're ready to finally have the attention they deserve put upon them. They've been a mystery to most of the world until now.
And there's so much to explore. I mean, when we were talking about what we want to talk about, the royals. Yeah. This is British Columbia, after all.
That's right.
The head of state is the Queen of England for some reason.
She's all over our money here.
Yes, every single dime, nickel, and
Are
quarter.
You still a subject of the Queen? And
yes,
there's no pennies here. No pennies.
Yeah. So there's the royals. There's history in general. The indigenous population.
Mm-hmm. There's an endless list of things that we're going to discover, and I'm sure more things that we're going to pick up along the way. So I'm so excited for you, the listener, to join us. Hit us up on the Instagram. I'm sure we'll have a Twitter soon enough. Probably I Don't Speak Canadian on Twitter, but we'll make sure you get all that stuff as we go. But thank you for listening, coming along this journey with us. And
I don't speak Canadian. Do you?
No, but I'm learning. Thanks for listening.
Podcast that explains Canada to the rest of the world. I don't speak Canadian. Do you?
No, but I'm learning. Thanks for listening to our first episode of I Don't Speak Canadian. If you want to hear more about our journey into all things Canada, make sure you hit the subscribe button. That way you get all the new episodes as they happen in your feed automatically. And we got bonus video footage on our YouTube and Instagram pages, both at I Don't Speak Canadian. Thank you so much to Patrick Leung and Andrea Jin for being on the show. If you need immigration assistance, make sure you hit up Patrick at 101migration.com. And if you want to know more about Andrea, her comedy dates, her podcast, anything like that, hit her up on Twitter at AndreaHJin and on Instagram at AndreaJin. Thank you so much to the Vancouver citizens who stopped and talked to us for all the interviews. And big thanks to Neakley Pizzeria for allowing us to do our interview there. They got great, tasty Neapolitan pizza. Make sure you hit them up if you're ever in Vancouver. The I Don't Speak Canadian theme song was written and performed by the Straight A's, which is comprised of the talented Jamie Hicks and Nick Verla. I Don't Speak Canadian is written, produced, edited, and hosted by Kurt Long and Jatinder Sadhu.